Gracie, we're ready to go.
Oh, is that our goal?
I'm going to call the meeting to order. We'd ask you to stand with us for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The consent agenda for this evening is following. A, approved minutes, City Council work session February 2nd, 2021, City Council regular meeting February 2nd, 2021, Economic Development Authority meeting January 21st, 2021, Park Commission meeting October 12th, 2020, Park Commission work session November 9th, 2020, Park Commission work session December 14th, 2020, Planning Commission meeting December 14th, 2020, Planning Commission meeting January 11th, 2021. B, address change 121 6th Street South. Above an address change for the residential property located at 121 6th Street South to 130th 5th Street South. C, client agreement and authorization environmental mosquito management program, Clark Environmental Mosquito Management Incorporated. Authorize the city administrator to execute a client agreement and authorization for an environmental mosquito management program with Clark Environmental Mosquito Management Incorporated for the 2021 season. D, locating services agreement termination, United Location Services. Authorize the city administrator to initiate the termination of a locating service agreement for underground facility locating and marking services with CCS Enterprises, LLC, DBA, United Locating Services effective April 5th, 2021. E, Winstead Farm Market, Allen Park. Authorize the Winstead Farmers Market Organization to conduct events at Hanlon Park in 2021 and waive any applicable permit or fees for the use of the park. F, Security Bank and Trust Company, Pledged Securities. Approve the pledged securities and Security Bank and Trust Company as purchased for the City of Winstead for the month of February 2021. G, Building Permit Report, February 2021. Approve the building permit report for the month of February 2021. H, Financial Report, January 2021. Approve the financial report for the month of January 2021. I, Claims. Approve the claims list for March 16th, 2021. J, Resignation. Winstead Police Department part-time officer. Accept the voluntary resignation of Mr. Scott Raymond from the position of part-time officer with the Winstead Police Department effective March 16th, 2021. This is the consent agenda. Does someone like to make a motion to accept it?
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, and I abstain from voting on item F.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item this evening is a public hearing on ordinance 021-04, Urban and Rental Service Tax District. Mr. Adam Burkholz.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. The ordinance as presented this evening is the result of continued discussions between Winston Investment LLC regarding two parcels that they own on the very southeast corner of the city of Winstead. Winston Investment LLC had a request regarding potential detachment of their properties due to the limited services they receive. As part of our discussions with Winston Investment LLC, city staff proposed creating an ordinance to create a rural and urban service district here within Winstead. Service districts create separate taxing districts in the city for the purpose of property taxes. Active rural and urban service districts cause tax rates to vary within a city. Properties within a rural service district do not benefit from municipal services to the same degree as properties within an urban service district, so the rural service district results in a lower tax rate. Rural service districts are to include only unplatted lands that are rural in character and not developed for commercial, industrial, or urban use. Urban service districts include all the land that is not included in the rural service district. So annually, as part of our review of the proposed rural service districts, we will review the benefit level received by those parcels, and then we will establish the tax rate and notify the county auditor treasurer accordingly, and that has to be done in August. So with that being said, the proposed tax rate moving forward for the two parcels will be at a minimum proposed tax rate of 20%, which would reflect the debt service that the city of Winston has established here in town, as well as just over 3% to cover the cost of police and fire protection on those agricultural lands. So again, these two parcels are both agricultural in nature. City services in terms of water and sewer are of a substantial distance, so we're not providing those type of services to these parcels, and that's why it was deemed appropriate to create these different tax districts. So with that being said, the next step would be for the city council to take any public comment. After the public comment period, then the city council should have a motion to close the public hearing, discuss it further amongst yourselves, and then we will need a motion to approve or adopt ordinance 02104.
So the public hearing is now open. If anybody would like to come forward and discuss anything? Nobody coming up? I'd like
There
to-
was no written comments?
The city staff has not received any comment regarding the proposed rural and urban service district.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now I need someone to make a motion to adopt ordinance 021-04.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance O-21-04, an ordinance establishing an urban service district and a rural service district within the municipal limits of the city of Winsted, Minnesota, pursuant to Minnesota statute 272.67.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Old business, there is no old business this evening. New business item, a zoning amendment initiation by proceeding. Adam?
So as part of our discussion, again, with Winston Investment LLC, the city of Winston did execute a settlement agreement related to our discussions. And in that settlement agreement, the city of Winston agreed to, by motion, initiate the proceedings to amend per section 1501.005 of the Winston zoning ordinance, the zoning of the subject real estate from single-family residential to ag, as soon as reasonably practicable in accordance with Minnesota statutes following the establishment of the rural service district. So essentially, this evening, we have created an urban and rural service district with those parcels being classified as a rural district. Now, the next part of our agreement with Winston Investment LLC is to make a motion to start the proceedings to rezone the land from residential R1 to ag. So again, now this is on the zoning end of things, the land use control of it. Our previous discussion was regarding the tax district. So this motion that we're making right now is to start the proceedings to rezone it. Once we start those proceedings, then we will schedule a public hearing, and that's part of the motion, schedule a public hearing on April 12th, held at the planning commission level in regards to rezoning it from a land use control perspective.
You said April 12th?
April 12th at 6 p.m.
Any other questions?
If this does get rezoned, again, if they start any work on there as plating for different housing, that would change
Right.
their tax use, correct?
That would change the taxing, yeah. So once it's platted, it would move from a rural tax district to an urban tax district. But now in terms of the zoning control of it, plating itself wouldn't change the rezoning. They would have to make a request to rezone it from ag to residential, but they could not do any residential activities. You know, so if they're planning for residential use, they couldn't start that residential use until it was rezoned back to residential. So the property owner has created an extra step for themselves now if they want to move back to residential use of the property. So, but that is their request at this time.
Yep. Makes sense.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to initiate proceedings for amending text and zoning district boundaries set forth in Chapter 15 of the Winsted Municipal Code relating to parcel identification numbers 21.014.0300 and 21.023.0100, and direct the Planning Commission to conduct a public hearing on Monday, April 12th, 2021, to consider the proposed amendments.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the Winsted Municipal Airport Pavement Rehab bid results and award recommendations. Adam, kind of a busy guy tonight.
I am a busy guy tonight. On February 2nd, the City Council authorized or approved the specifications for said project in terms of rehabbing the terminal area and the apron pavement. So again, we approved the specs that evening. We also authorized Bolton & Mink to put the project out on bids. Since that time, 4 bids were received and reviewed by Bolton & Mink. Now this evening, Bolton & Mink is recommending approval of the bid submitted by Farner Asphalt Sealers LLC at a total price of $35,476. So that price is substantially less than what was anticipated for this project. When this project was first brought to the City Council back in November, when we did the first agreement with Bolton Mink to engineer this project, the estimated project cost overall was $166,000. Currently, with the bid from Farner Asphalt Sealers, along with the engineering costs, the current project cost is $87,976, so almost 50% less.
Less.
So that's good news. So as part of the motion this evening, we are looking for the City Council to award the bid to the contractor, as well as authorizing city staff to submit for grant reimbursement or for grants from the FFA and MnDOT. Now, I think it's worth noting that the typical project breakdown for this type of project would be 90% covered by the FFA, 5% covered by MnDOT, and 5% covered by a local share, which would result in a cost of $4,398 to the city of Winsted. But we were just notified today verbally by the FAA that this year's projects will be covered 100% by the FAA as part of the recent CARES Act, or recent federal stimulus project.
That works.
So this will be 100% covered. We anticipate 100% covered by the federal government at this point. But
Kind of a
again,
nice gift.
that's, we were just told that verbally, not officially in writing yet. So so I'm glad that we had this project queued up because it did result in substantial savings on numerous different fronts.
Great.
Which we somewhat anticipated at the time and we wanted to be ready for, I guess.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions? Call for a motion.
I'll consider a motion to approve the bid from Farner Asphalt Sealers LLC for the terminal area and apron pavement rehabilitation project in the amount of $35,476, contingent upon final execution of Federal Aviation Administration and the Minnesota Department of Transportation grant funding documents, and authorize the submission of a grant application to the FAA and the MnDOT for a total project cost of $89,976.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, the last item of new business for this evening is the annual tree trimming plan approval and agreement. Mr. Adam.
Since the 2017 budgeting process, the city council has budgeted $10,000 annually for tree maintenance. So this year, we received 2 quotes from vendors. One quote from Solberg's Tree Service, who has done the tree maintenance the past 2 seasons here in Winsted. His quote for the base project of 181 trees was $6,700. The second quote was from Cavisto West Tree Service for $22,625. So this evening, we are looking for city council approval to award the project to Solberg's Tree Service, both the base quote of $6,700 as well as some additional quotes to do some tree maintenance along Grass Lake Road. So that's not a part of the base bid, just due to the nature of the work that needs to be done there. That's a brushier area. It's hard to calculate exactly how many trees, so we just had them bid the block itself. So again, that's the gravel road on the very west side of the city of Winsted. So that base bid by Solberg's Tree Service was $600 versus $1,500 from the second vendor. And then lastly, we have an addendum also to for the provider to clean up the lake bank again. This will likely be kind of an annual activity for the most part, at least until the sumac takes stronger hold yet and starts to suffocate the underbrush per se. And again, the base bid or the bid from Solberg's was $700 versus $1,200 from the second vendor. So overall, we're looking for a city council approval of $8,400 for the tree maintenance, which reflects all the activity described, as well as an additional 5% for any additional unforeseen costs that might come up with some trees that weren't.
And again, we've used this person in the last 2 years.
The last 2 years, he's proved himself competent and done a great job for our staff, and we've been very happy with the services he's provided.
And I also understand that he works very well with the public, and he's been used by the public quite a bit last year.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. He is certainly a local vendor, so that's all good news.
So I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city administrator to execute an agreement with Solberg's Tree Service for tree trimming and brush removal in the city of Winsted for an amount not to exceed $8,400.
We have a motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is the organizational report from the Winsted Lake Association. Peggy, you're up.
Sorry, get my cheaters out here. Guys aren't what they used to be.
By the way, did everybody get a copy of this?
Yep, everybody should have
Yes.
a copy at their station there.
Do you want me to read this report, or have you read it already? This is what Mr. Moss sent me.
You do what you're comfortable
Hit
doing.
the highlights.
Hit the highlights? Okay. I can save you the rest of the stuff and kind of hit the highlights here. We've had new officers elected this year, and we kind of decided we're going to change our meetings. We meet every month, we have been, but we're looking at changing that to maybe 4 times a year, depending, or as we need them. Kind of talked about that. Also on communications with our members. We checking out, we send out membership, and what we'd like to do is,
Peggy, can I interrupt you just for a minute?
Sure.
Unless you're uncomfortable, could you remove the mask?
oh, I sure can.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with our membership, we're looking at communicating differently. We set up our own email account and maybe sending out minutes to people. We asked in our membership if they'd like to receive the minutes, if they wanted to be notified when we have meetings, and if they'd be involved in projects. And so we've been getting responses with that for the last 6 weeks now. Membership is a huge part of how we keep our Lake Association going. It, as you've seen the report with Curly Pond Reef, treating that as very expensive. Anyway, back on communications. We're also looking at membership of kind of changing it, of having people who just want to financially support us and those who want to financially support us and also be involved. We need both to keep it, is essential to keep this going. Kind of our major things, issues we have is Curly Pond leaf weed and controlling summer algae and sedimentation. and appropriate use of our new aeration system. The curly pond weed is an invasive species that grows up in the spring and dies off in July, and it can never be eradicated from the lake. Some years, we struggle with it. Some years it's not so bad, and years that we have to treat it, the price tag is around 10 grand or better. So it takes a lot of membership dues to take care of that. The summer algae is, of course, the lake receiving a lot of nutrients from the runoff. The best way to control that is to try to keep your nutrients at bay from coming in, and we're looking at, I think a holding pond is one thing we're trying to address with that, getting that done. That's, I think, work in progress. I think we're applying for some grants, if I remember correctly, in that too. Also, another thing we're looking at is treating algae, which was kind of a new thing he said, of sonic waves, which I thought was interesting. I just read the report tonight, so sorry, I'm kind of a little buried on that one. That would be a new, that's also quite expensive. That's, like $30,000 to $50,000 for something like that, but that's something that's out, and I think the company was LG Sonic, and Dale's been kind of researching that. We're watching that a little bit. He said it's really very effective. It's a company overseas. Now they've started in the States, so he's been in touch with them, just trying to do more research, but he said it really works. It's like like a buoy that sits out there about 2 feet wide, whatever, and apparently it's computerized, and it sees like how much algae is in the lake. When it gets to be a certain amount, then it sends out sonic waves to take care of the algae. So that's new technology that we're researching. And our new aeration system that we just put in this fall, it went very well. It's much more cost effective. It cost us about $140 this winter to run it, which is a lot cheaper than $500 what it cost in the past. It cost us about $17,000, and we've gotten probably $6,000 in donations to help support that. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions for?
Shoot, I did and I forgot.
What's that?
I was thinking, I had a question, and then I started reading and I forgot. Is DNR stocking any fish this spring?
They're going to survey the lake this spring and see where it's at. They may do that. If we need it, they will stock it. We had some summer kill this last summer because the oxygen level was low, the lake level was low. He said it was just a weird fluke that we had summer kill. And we might have winter kill because we went into the winter with low oxygen levels.
But otherwise, the fish health seems good.
Seems to be pretty good, yeah. He said we'll know more now if you see as the ice melts, if you see a lot of eagles sitting around the edge, then we got fish kill. That's what they're doing, so eating.
Are there less fish in the lake right now than what there was? Because I noticed there wasn't as many ice fishermen out there this
Yeah.
year as what there was last year.
I know we had a fish kill this summer. How much, I couldn't tell you. I'm not the expert on that one. I'm just here, but I'm guessing that it did go down because we did have a summer fish kill, and probably some this winter.
Mike, you're the fisherman. Is one of the reasons we didn't have a lot of the big fish houses out there the state of the ice?
Possibly. I can tell you statewide fishing was kind of poor.
Poor.
Yeah.
Not just because of Winstead, I mean all over. So I don't think the people who are out fishing, if you're not getting, they're not all going out all the time like they did on some lakes.
Yeah, this year wasn't like other years. It'd be a little village out there. This year, there's
Yes.
hardly anybody out there. I noticed that. I thought maybe it's COVID. The fish are quarantined.
Could be.
I can tell you the Eagles were very unhappy.
Yes.
Any other questions? I
Thank you
might
for all
add
the-
that I received a phone call from the Department of Natural Resources yesterday, and they are going to replace the buoys from the rock pile because the buoys were just chewed to shreds.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to supply us, which the Lake Association, I'm assuming, is going to have to pay for. Also, for those of you who don't know, the new aerations sit on the bottom of the lake, and the total expense for electricity this year should not run over $350 for the whole year. So there's quite a savings in that alone.
And looking at maybe doing that this summer too, and it helps
Yes.
with it. And you said
Gonna
probably
try.
costs
They're
maybe
gonna try it.
$50 a month if it does
Yes.
anything. And maybe getting another air compressor with a tune of 900, but that has to go through the association.
Any other questions?
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, Pick.
Thank you.
And now we have Howard Lake Schools. And if you will come up and introduce yourselves.
I'm Vaughn Krismarzik. I'm school counselor for Winstead Elementary and Humphrey Elementary.
I'm Brianne Addix. I'm the school social worker, and I work at both of the elementary schools, Humphrey and Winstead, and at the high school. I was a counselor at the middle school also, and she was not able to come to do daycare.
You know, there are nights when we need a counselor.
Yeah, give me a call. All right, so we were asked by our administration to come and speak about something we implemented this year called Character Strong. We did a lot of research into different social emotional learning curriculum for like school-wide all of last year, and came across to this curriculum, and it seemed to hit everything we were looking for, and went across the board from kindergarten all the way up to our seniors, and they just follow along the same plan throughout the school year. So if kindergartners, first, second, third, fourth graders are working on it, so are 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders are working on the same types of things at the same time of the year. So Vaughn can speak about the elementary school, and then I will tell you a little bit about the middle school and high school, and maybe how it ties into how it is affecting Winstead, the community of Winstead.
So like Brianne was saying, we found this going from kindergarten through 12th grade, and it's called Character Strong, and it's building all the character traits that we want: courage, respect, responsibility, empathy. And so the teachers are able to choose from this curriculum what things they want, and there's books, there's videos, there's different lessons, there's also to hit the families, there's parent letters that go home, there's actually besides staff challenges and student challenges to show empathy, let's say, or respect, there's also challenges for families that go home as well. I was just reading one the other day that said, make a long goodbye. And usually we say bye and, head out the door, and this says you say bye, but as the person's getting on the coat, you walk over and say goodbye again. Then when they go out the door, you wave at them down the driveway. Like, it's just trying to challenge you to be the best you can be, and do things like that. So that's, it's just a good program, I think, because the teachers get to choose what things they want to do, and there's lots of different time frames. Oh, this activity only takes 2 minutes. Oh, this book is going to take me a half an hour with the activity. They get to pick and choose, but yet the whole school is doing, like this month, empathy. And so every classroom is doing different lessons on empathy. I get to go in as a counselor and do lessons. The principal chooses a student of the month that's empathy. She does the award, but they chose.
The
and
teachers
will choose the student. So anyway, that's kind of how it is for the elementary.
And so the middle school counselor shared with me what they do at the middle school, and we have advisories at middle school and high school. So students have a teacher that they meet with during advisory time, and it's like 80 some minutes now with our COVID time blocks. And so they get it 2 times a week at the middle school. She talked about how they reach out to the community through doing things like they wrote supportive letters to local firefighters and fire departments and local healthcare workers. That was part of one of their lessons that they had. She mentioned that it's been super easy to do this curriculum through our distance learning, hybrid, and in-person. Like, it can be done really easily through the computer and not in person. So it's been nice to have something. Character Strong made it knowing distance learning was happening, so they were able to adjust their lessons to fit that, which has been nice because we were out for a little while with our 7th through 12th graders at our school district. And then the high school uses Character Strong in their advisory as well. At the high school level, they also have to do post-graduation planning, so they don't get the Character Strong every time they have advisory. They do some post-graduation planning as well during that time. So it's more about once a week that they get the Character Strong lessons. Some of the lessons were around growth mindset and mindfulness and personal branding. So that would be like if you were to, pick what you wanted to be and advertise that, what does that look like, kind of stuff. They're easy for staff to navigate, and they keep the students engaged. Like Vaughn had said, there's video lessons. They have super fun activities, and they bring in things like just like current things. Like they might have a GIF where it's like somebody laughing, and then they have to say, okay, tell me about a time when you felt that way and what was happening. So it brings in like current what teenagers are into to keep them engaged. And things, it's hard for kids, just like it's hard for us to be in situations like distance learning and hybrid and not being able to see your friends and having to quarantine when you don't feel well or when you've been exposed. And so this curriculum has really done a good job of allowing kids the space and the time and the opportunity to express their feelings and share things and support each other. And they've seen that happening at the high school. Gives them time to process and talk about their feelings and things going on in their lives. So, do you guys have any questions about Character Strong or anything else in our district?
You alluded to our world the last year. So what have you seen regarding the mental health of students and parents?
We've been really lucky, I think, the K through 6th being in school. This whole school year, we've been really lucky for that. So I would say at the elementary level, we haven't seen a ton of trouble with that. Kids get really super bummed when they have to be quarantined, and we get really super bummed when they have to be quarantined and we don't get to have them in the building and really celebrate when they come back. Our middle school and high school students, I think, are struggling more. A lot of things that they want to do that they've done in the past, maybe they can't do that. Even things like homecoming dance, and that not being able to happen. And so, just making sure that we are supporting them and have things like this curriculum in place. We also have done something called a PASS survey, and we sent that to the kids, and it was actually while they were distance learning, and it asks
25
50
or
questions
50.
Related to kind of social emotional state and where they were at, and they were distance learning during the time that they were given the survey. And one of the questions, so our data that comes back to us shows like, here's a student, here's where they're struggling, so we can put some interventions in place to help them. But it also shows like it flags a question. Like this question was highlighted, and a lot of kids marked that they were having trouble with it. And one of them said, I feel lonely. And that was highlighted, and it was like, oh no. But they were distance learning. They were home in their bedrooms, most of the time in their beds, trying to learn. And so we're just really happy to have them back in the building, and we will do the survey again now that they're back in the building, and we're hoping that question is not flagged at this time, and that lots of the kids that were in the red and at-risk area will now be more into the yellow or green area.
So if they are in an at-risk area, what do you do?
We talk to advisories, because those teachers, so how it works at the high school anyway is 9 through 12. The 9th graders will have a teacher, like I'll say Miss Graves is one of the teachers. So they'll have her 9th grade, and then when they become 10th graders, they still have Miss Graves. And 11th grade, they still have her. And so that teacher is making a connection with those kiddos from 9th through 12th grade, which is great. The teachers get to know the kids, and so if they start getting bad grades, they know like, hey, they usually get good grades and now they're not, something must be up, let's check on them. So we might talk to the advisors and see if they can connect with the kids and do a little one-on-one time, help them with some homework, or just send them an email saying, I think of you, however they are comfortable and feel they can support that student. We also have myself, we have a school psych, and our high school counselor, and we meet with students too. The PASS survey has specific intervention ideas Like one of them might be have the student journal like 3 positives for the day. And so we might put that on the advisor and say, hey, can you check in every day with the student, send an email and say, hey, send me your 3 positives for the day. So things like that.
Okay.
It's different
Yeah.
for every kiddo.
Right. But, think even though we're in school, we don't get, like, I'm thinking when you mentioned, well, they want to know more about the community and involving the community. Well, we don't get to have volunteers come in, and we don't have our grandparents' day. Like, we're trying to figure out, can we do a drive-by where the grandparents can drive by the school and see the kid? We're trying to figure out how can we do so many things that we're just not able to. So everybody's trying to be super creative, but we would love to be, doing more things, but we're just really.
Hopefully next year it's better.
I know, so that, we're all hanging in there. Hopefully things can start changing again. But I think the kids have been working hard. Like Brianne said, we've been very fortunate that elementary's been in, but we're in like this. And I wonder how, over time, how that will, how do kids, you view people's faces, and we're all talking about feelings, and I'm like, it's so hard to read a lot of children and teachers when, we're like this. It's been challenging, but very hardworking staff at the schools. Everybody's, doing the best they can. Kids are, our attendance, I think, except for the ones that have to quarantine, our attendance is really good because kids want to be at school, the parents want them in school, and so.
Mr. Mayor, if I may say a couple things. I would like to applaud you guys in your efforts with this program. Certainly, I mean, these are the type of curriculums that certainly strengthen our community. I think our police chief would certainly appreciate, character building efforts. I'm wondering, you probably see a reduction in discipline issues with this type of curriculum, and you can probably have data to show that, I'm assuming. So again, I applaud you in your efforts with that. As you're working with your high school students, I just want to encourage you, as you're talking about character building and career building and looking at what their life is after high school, certainly keep in mind that there's a lot of opportunities here in the city of Winsted to give back to the community, especially in terms of volunteer fire department opportunities. That's an area that we're struggling currently. So any encouragement you can give to them in that area or working within business here in Winsted, we would certainly appreciate that. And look forward to helping them if there's any opportunity for us to help in terms of presenting what, volunteering on a fire department can look like and how that can be a part of an organization and really help kids.
Well, that mentoring piece, we'd love to have more people
Right.
come in and share careers and have mentors, and
Sure.
right now but
Yeah, in the future. So
I would
Thank you.
say that would be a really great advisory activity, especially for our seniors.
Okay.
And connecting with Emily Holm, the high school counselor. She would love to have something like that set up. I know that they do like a post-graduation lesson where they have a student who went directly to work after they graduated, one that went to like a technical school, one that went to a 4-year college, and just have them speak about what life is like after graduation. And so Emily loves to have things like that for the kids to engage with.
Yeah,
So.
I know Milliburns will take somebody out of school and they'll train them to be a welder, which is a very good paying job. I think Ram now is doing, training kids to be carpenters. So I think all the businesses in town are doing something.
do they have that would be great for them to have like their own Winstead career fair, have their own station. Here's Milliburn, here's Jura Supreme,
Yeah.
here's all these different places that, hey, you come work for us, we'll train you, and know what's right here in Winstead, make
Right.
it specific to Winstead.
I know the chambers looked at that, but they're it's on hold obviously until
Yeah.
this fog clears up. So, but
Yeah,
yes.
But I know that our high school counselor is always willing to have people come in and, and speak to especially the seniors who are super nervous about being adults soon. And
So are we.
so anything that you could do to help prep them, she is all for it.
excellent. I'm sure we'll have something in mind. So, okay.
Thank you.
Well,
so
thank
much.
you for coming this evening
Yeah.
and the information. I know that it's going to be very difficult for a couple of more months, but it certainly sounds like you guys got a good hung on the rope and you're pulling everybody through it. And it sounds like not only the education part, but enjoying life with other people.
Yep.
And that's part of, I feel, absolutely part of the education in itself. And when you were talking about the little kids in their masks, that would
wanna play with
drive me, that would just drive me nuts. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
I wish people could see how these little kindergartners are walking in the hall with their masks on and just really, really doing a great.
Being good troopers.
Yes,
Being
they
really
are.
troopers. They really are. They're
Yeah.
following the rules, and I mean, they even will walk with their hands out. Oh, so they're not too close. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's quite a sight. Anyway, thank you. for
Thank you.
having us.
Well, no, thank you. Very, very good. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is open forum. If there's anybody out there that would like to approach the microphone. If no one, all right. Adam, you're up again.
Okay, lastly this evening, I just want to note the city council, I forgot to mention, we talked about the tree trimming. For your, just for your awareness, this is the scheduled areas that will be trimmed this summer. So what's highlighted in red are the blocks that where the tree trimming will occur. So that I forgot to mention earlier. Then also, like I stated earlier, we will have a public hearing scheduled for April 12th at 6 p.m. with the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the rezoning of those 2 parcels on the southeast corner of Winstead. We'll also have a second public hearing regarding a variance request for 591 Main Avenue, and that variance request is in regards to the parking setback. The parking setback for that area is 10 feet, and they are scheduled to have a 5-foot setback there due to the lot, just due to the configuration of the parking requirements and having to meet our parking requirements. So it's a pretty minor variance request that the Planning Commission will have to consider on April 12th for 591 Main Avenue West. And then lastly, the City Council, as you guys are aware, is determined that we will be able to open up the Vollmer Room to community organizations here starting Monday. Next Monday, that would be the 22nd, I believe. So I will be contacting, or our staff will be contacting the organizations that have previously used the Vollmer Room and set up procedures to put in place for use of that room moving forward. Otherwise, if there's any other questions for me, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Is it possible to have this put in the newsletter?
I'm certain that we could. Yep,
Okay.
we will do that.
And then we also are going to have a little chart in the room when I come in to use it. We're going to,
Yeah, we will make sure that we have some procedures established and provided to those organizations to follow along with in terms of sanitizing the room, etc.
but I think there should be an emphasis, even if it's just printed on the note, that if it is left undone, you will be contacted and maybe not use it again.
We can address that.
I mean, we've got to
Yeah,
protect everybody. That's the problem. Okay.
very good.
Anybody else have anything? Tom?
No, sir.
Stephen?
Nope.
Bonnie? Michael? Amanda?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Michael's going to second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I
Meeting is adjourned.
have my paper back now?
No!